Hey everyone, it's DFA, welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at the Blitz Pass ship and second Commonwealth ship in the game, Haida, Tier 7 Premium Destroyer. And it's a ship that many of you are actually struggling with, and it's not a very good ship, but there are ways you can make it work, and in fact it's one of my fleetmates, Sombras, who sent me this gameplay. He's an excellent destroyer player, and you will see him in action, and you see how he basically chooses its engagements and how he sets up the ship for success. So let's take a look at the stats first. So Haida is here on the right. Immediately we notice that it gets 3 engine accelerators and 3 fuel smokes, one less than Jervis, but still quite good. The survivability is also quite nice, 15,300 hit points, and quite close to the top at tier 7. The concealment is also quite good at 6 kilometers. Unfortunately, the maneuverability is not very good. That is quite a lot of yellow. They're certainly not as fast and maneuverable as, for example, the for me better tier 7 premium destroyer, the Sims. So the guns, you do get 6 120mm guns just like the Jervis, but your reload time is only 5 seconds. That's very good. You do get a very good HE DPM of 27,000, best at tier 7. Unfortunately the fire chance is only 2%, so you will not be using it a lot because you're not going to be setting anything on fire. Your AP is quite nice as well, DPM 28,000, only beaten by the German. Unfortunately your turret rotation is not very good at only 12 degrees. That is why Sombras is using the turret rotation increase both as equipment slot 1 and as edit bonus on top of the rudder traverse acceleration on equipment slot 2 and the concealment on equipment slot 3. So far so good. Let's take a look at the torpedoes, and that is where the good news are ending for Haida quite brutally, because you only get 4 533mm torpedoes. Take a look at the Jervis, it's actually getting 10. Yes, they reload in 53 seconds, so you do get the comparable burst damage with the Skane and the Bliskavitska. Unfortunately, you reload a lot slower and your DPM is the worst at tier 7. It's absolutely ridiculously bad because unlike the Skane, for example, your flooding chance is much lower at only 15%. So you are not going to be dealing a lot of damage with torpedoes. You will not be flooding anything either. And your AA is also crap. So basically you do have decent guns, quite usable guns, but your torpedoes are not what you are going to rely on to be dealing your damage, and that will have a massive influence on the way you play the Haida, as we are about to see. Let's take a look at some gameplay. So we jump into the action and we see that it's a pretty good matchmaking for the Haida. We do have 4 destroyers on the enemy team, 3 of them direct threats to our battleships, and the Haida, so Sombras, is actually going to go to the flank. Not really in the center because that's a death sentence if you get spotted on that map. That is where all the enemy ships will be looking. Destroyers tend to go a little bit wide, and that is the kind of targets that you want to be meeting. So he's actually going to be seeking that kind of engagements actively. Notice that he switched to AP in the meantime and is very close to its cruiser, and sure enough here are the first destroyers. He's not engaging immediately, he's holding his fire until he's spotted, and until basically the enemy destroyers are also engaged with the cruiser. That is some clever positioning there, because you really want all the help you can get engaging those 2 destroyers, so it's a really good situation for him. He did manage to close the distance with those 2 Japanese destroyers, and now we can actually put its guns and its much superior DPM to very good use. Popping smoke to be hiding and preserving damage, and sure enough he's going to be finishing that Akatsuki quite soon, and there you go, that should be over now. No, he did not. Thanks team. He's not getting that one, but there is another one right behind. And so you see that Sombras is actually turning back towards the team, because remember, as a destroyer, you do, actually, especially as a gunnery destroyer, you do not want to go too far away from the team. You do not want to go alone. Your first responsibility is to spot for your team, and keeping those destroyers spotted will actually make it a lot easier for your battleships to be avoiding damage. And that is exactly what that Shiratsuyu should not have done. She went way too far ahead of her team. She is there absolutely with no support, and she's going to go down very quickly indeed. This time the rest of the team is not there to steal the kill. He's in a very bad position, that Shiratsuyu. And Sombras gets away with the first kill indeed. And now it gets even more interesting because you see him running away from the battleship, shooting right behind it, anticipating that the battleship is going to start retreating indeed. But he knows that this is not its primary target. Its primary targets are destroyers and maybe some other light cruisers. But here you really want to take out the destroyers for your team, because that is where you can put your guns to maximum use. Remember, you do not have any torpedoes DPM. It's by far the worst at tier 7, even lower than the EU destroyer. So it does get 3 torpedo hits there, and as you see, only 10,000 damage dealt, but this is its primary targets, the Minsk. Again, he waits until he is a little bit closer before he engages with AP rounds. That Minsk has been quite aggressive in front of the Colorado, and Sombras is quietly remaining behind because he has seen that there is a Galissonière to its left. That is not a ship he wants to actually start dueling with. Its primary targets are those 2 destroyers, and he wants to be protecting the battleship as much as he can. And so he switched his target to that Fubuki because the Minsk has actually shot its torpedoes, but unfortunately that is a little bit too late to be saving the Colorado, who's going to go down quite soon. He's taken quite a lot of damage, but Sombra still manages to get the kill on that Akatsuki. Very good. Can you also finish the Minsk? Yes, he can. Very nice shot indeed, but now it's time to run away from that Galissonière. And you can actually use your full fuel smoke to do just that. So there you go, running away, switching to HE to be dealing a little bit of damage to it, because AP are not a guaranteed pet, although you might want to go for the weak spots on that ship at that range. It's a possibility that you can actually hit them, but sure enough, the Galissonière gets taken down, but he also gets the battleship down. And so there you go, Sombras did an absolutely excellent job for the team, clearing out the protection of the remaining 2 battleships, who are going to go down because they cannot do anything against the 2 remaining destroyers. And actually the cruiser takes the New Mexico down. Very good job from the cruiser player indeed. And now it's just about farming damage, and while he does just that, he's trying to rush to the crime scene using his engine accelerator. We can actually debrief the gameplay. And the first lesson is actually the positioning on the map. You do have a destroyer that has good AP shells, good guns, actually very good guns, but awful torpedoes. So you are actively going to be seeking engagements with other destroyers, and you will choose your position on the map accordingly. You will not go too far from your team because your job is to scout. You wait a little before you engage them. You make sure that they actually cannot run away without taking quite a lot of damage. That is exactly what he's done. And actually, if you remember the positioning of the enemy Shiratsu, that's exactly everything that you should not be doing. And then, following upon that, knowing your role on the battlefield, he did actually leave the battleships behind. He did put a couple of torpedoes into them, but you know that that ship is never going to be sinking a battleship with its torpedoes. Its main asset are the guns, so he actually went on the other side of the map to be helping its team, fighting against 2 destroyers and the light cruiser, and basically he got rewarded by an MVP for that. So there you go, that is how you do well with what is otherwise a very average ship. You identify what it does well, and you make sure that you can actually put yourself in a position or actively provoke that engagements. For example, take a look at the torpedo damage there. I said 10,000 in the gameplay, it's actually 7,500. So yes, use those guns, put yourselves in a position to be doing well with them. And most importantly, be a team player, support your team, and well, eventually you will be rewarded. So there you go, that was the end of the review. Thank you very much, Sombras, for that excellent gameplay, allowing me to highlight a couple of very interesting points from destroyers. I hope you've enjoyed it, you learned a couple of interesting things. Stay safe, take care, that was DeathFromAbove, signing out, bye bye!